you get to be the business.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go and track them down or play by certain rules.
There's a cap and a limit to when, like, how much you can learn and consume. There's a certain point that you just have to do.
There has to be strategy. There
Yeah.
has to be technique. There's no like, oh, it just happened. And the people who do that overnight, they're gone just as fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Venture Hustles podcast. My name is Saj. I'm one of the co-hosts of the show. I've got Jack with me.
Hey guys,
How are y'all doing?
we're doing good. We have a special guest here today.
We do. We have Miss Alaura Lovelight. She's an R&B artist. She has her own music company and a lot of really cool things that she's involved in. Welcome, Alaura. How you
Thank
doing?
you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No, we're excited to have you.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's-
We have
how's
a
your
lot
day?
to talk about,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think there'll be a pretty cool time for you to be able to kick this off and let us know who you are.
Okay, cool. So for your listeners who don't really know, I'm an R&B singer,
Yes.
and my single just released in September, and it's doing really well. It's on I think we have 100+ radio stations right now,
No
and
way, that's
then
awesome.
and we have I think we're in over 20 countries.
Wow,
Yeah, it's so
that's cool.
exciting. Thank you.
That's awesome.
That's got to be crazy
It's
looking
crazy.
at the stats, right?
Yeah,
When you're looking
yeah,
at the stats.
Yep. And then we did every week is like a new thing, right? So it's like got Pandora, it was on, and then it went to iHeartRadio, and then we had somebody use the audio of Eroticy for their TikTok video, and their TikTok video went viral.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
so it did like
Wow.
5 million views or something crazy.
That's pretty sick.
yeah,
Is
really,
that a
really
TikTok
cool.
sound now?
Like a trending sound?
No, like people use that
Yeah,
sound
yeah,
on
you can use it
TikTok?
on TikTok. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
for sure.
That's awesome because that's something that you don't really expect. I would imagine. Right?
Totally. And the thing is like as an artist, I think that you think things have to manifest a certain way, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and it happened, and I was like, that's not even my video. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, but it's still my song.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it really opens your brain to be like, wow, this could take off in ways that we don't even know. You know what I mean?
It's so
Yeah.
crazy how the new age social media works now.
Nuts.
It's kind of fascinating.
Yes, it is.
I think we were, before we started filming, you were talking a lot about what you're involved in, and it's super fascinating. I think
Yeah.
we kind of want to be able to set a foundation on that. So you want to kind of tell the audience a little bit more about all the
Sure.
cool things that you do.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was telling you before we started that I have a company. It's called Lovelight Sound Music. And the way that company originally got started is because when you release your own music independently,
Okay.
there's like a space for you to say who your record label is.
Okay.
And I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I came up with Lovelight Sound Music.
Okay.
That was my company, and then I ended up filing the LLC and doing all of that, like technical businessy
Right,
things
get
that
all
you're
the
supposed to do.
paperwork. Yeah.
And it just has developed since then, and that
Yeah.
was in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had released a different project back then. And then it's just really developed into this company where we have courses. We do motivation. I do motivational speaking. I work with
Workshops.
schools. I do workshops. I was telling Saj that people call me and they're like, "Do you sign artists?" And I'm like, "Not
Yeah.
yet. We're getting there. We're
Soon,
getting there."
wow.
Yeah.
But that's
So-
crazy
that's
because
so
she
exciting.
started her own label
Yeah.
as an independent artist,
Yeah.
and I just find it so ironic because now people are like, okay, do you sign artists? Do you look for the next big thing, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of fascinating.
it
Yeah,
is.
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Any particular reason for Lovelight, like the name?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind?
Yes. Once I was really, really casual conversation with a friend of mine,
Okay.
and I really forget the context of the whole conversation.
Okay.
But he said to me something about, you have this love light about you,
Ooh.
and I was like, ooh.
I like that.
Yeah, it
I
was
like
like
that.
so descriptive of who I am and who I want to be in the world, and what kind of music I want to put out, what kind of company I want to, like everything. And that's,
That
I
just
stuck
with you.
forever. And every time I say it to somebody, they're like, "That's so like it's such a great descriptive word."
Yeah.
You know.
So I want to add a little bit of context, right? Obviously, Venture Hustles. This, the podcast is all about startups, entrepreneurship, business owners.
Yeah.
Miss Alaura, she's a perfect fit. She's the first of all, you're the first musician, artist, guest
awesome.
at Venture Hustle.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about you, I thought was super fascinating when we were kind of like looking at everything that you were involved in, was like how you're a business owner, how you have so many different facets of what what you have to offer. And I think that's amazing, because I think there's so much that you can kind of, a lot of tidbits that you can drop for people that are entering a similar path,
Yeah, I love to like blaze a trail on your podcast for artists, because now is the time where it's like you get to be the business. You don't have to go and track them down or play by certain rules or whatever. It's like, especially since social media has happened. If I love that, because I think that all artists need to have a business mindset. They have to. And you don't have to be uninformed in this
Why do you
day and
say
age.
like they need to have a business mindset? I'm curious about that. Is that because the competition is so crazy, or
the labels trying to take advantage of, or
there's a lot to know about, like, for example, I used to gig when I was coming up, and I used to play shows like 14, 15 shows a month. And people used to say, "How do you do that?" And of course, I like always ask myself, how did I do that? And I sat down and I really realized that whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're doing your music, whether you're buying a liquor store, there has to be strategy. There has to be technique. There's no like, oh, it just happened. And the people who do that overnight, they're gone just as fast. If they don't have those tools.
You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to learn.
That's a really good point, because I feel a lot of times when people start a business, it's like, okay, what's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And, to what you said, there's a lot of times it's you have strategy, but it's not like, okay, let me look up the strategy. It's like you have to come up with these things, trial and error. And
I think for like when you're gigging, when you're kind of touring and doing these shows, it's like super taxing, right? So I find it fascinating that you were thinking about these alternatives, or you're thinking about options of how you can take it to the next level, because you're swamped when you're doing those things, right? And so I guess let's take a step back and try to figure out, I guess, so you're classically trained, right? You're a pianist. Is that your main instrument?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I started playing piano when I was like 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could read music before I could read a book.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you're basically when you're a classically trained pianist, you can play some of the craziest like shit. Like it's like you're like how like Chopin is. So like like stuff like that, like so crazy, like and then from that, like from a music writer's perspective, like a songwriter's perspective, like you can, like the sky's the limit. So you're a songwriter as well.
Yeah.
So you write all of your stuff. Do you have a team?
Sometimes, and sometimes it totally depends on like the atmosphere. I don't rely on a team.
Okay.
I love to collaborate.
Okay.
But I don't like have
You need
to.
it.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
that's good.
I studied music composition, so I really studied the art of like how to write a song. And then I moved to LA for a few years, and I worked in Hollywood for a film composer.
Okay.
And I was working writing film scores, which
I'm sure that was a
is
cool
super
experience.
cool.
Yeah.
It's the best ever. And that's really what I wanted to originally do.
Yep.
And then I was working for like an A-list Hollywood film composer, and his assistant was like 35 or 36.
Okay.
And I was like junior year of college at that point, and I was like, if I'm going to spend 10 years doing something, it's going to be my own music, my own career. So that's when I ended up working there, and I actually did my first album project.
Okay.
The film composer was like, yeah, use the studio whenever you want. And it was like
Love
$1 million
that.
studio.
Love
And I was like,
that.
okay.
Love
I had all the
that.
keys, and I was like, okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess like do you come from a music family?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like how did you start?
Yeah, my mom is like a brilliant piano player.
Mm.
She's amazing. I always tell people this is like she was an accompanist for like a choir, and
Okay.
she played all through her pregnancy with me.
Okay.
So I always feel like that was just like
Yeah.
ingrained
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
DNA.
Yeah.
And she's a public music teacher, and she's got a million kids who love her. And
That's amazing.
Made
Wow.
a huge impact on. And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You ever
So-
go down to
Cool.
the school and say hi?
I have a few times.
That's
I've done
awesome.
a few, like I directed a piece for her, and I've written like a few choral pieces for her. And her
That's
choir.
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I know. So you also have the You Matter movement
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling us a little bit more about that? I
Yeah.
know I saw it was like an anti-bullying like
Mhm.
program or.
Yeah, the You Matter program also was like a very kind of spur of the moment thing that happened where I wrote a song.
Okay.
Instagram account had hit me up and they were like, "Hey, will you write us like an inspirational whatever?"
Okay.
Which they never used.
Okay.
Oh,
But which is funny
That's
because
okay.
it's like it became this whole other thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wrote this song and I was like, what can I write that makes people, like anybody, feel like they're important, like they have value. And so that's where You Matter came from. And then I had storyboarded the whole music video.
Yep.
Which was like kind of a montage. It was nothing specific.
Yeah.
And then there was a school shooting at the time that I had, which I hate that that's still
Yeah.
relevant,
Yeah,
but
I
it
know.
is.
Yeah.
4 years later, which is
Yeah.
awful. But so we had done. Was like, we're done. We're not doing that video at all. I totally scrapped the whole video,
Okay.
and I was like, we're gonna go and visit people and make sure that they know they matter. And we went to a elementary school. We went to a middle school. We went to a high school. We
Okay.
went to a reintegration program for
Okay.
men who were formerly incarcerated. They were like 0 to 6 months out of prison.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we went to a church.
Okay.
And I was like, how do I cover every person of color, every age, every demographic as
everything.
possible
Yeah.
as I can? And I think we did that with the video. We really got a lot of amazing people in the video telling their story and just saying like, I've been bullied by this, but I want to do this, and I matter because of this. And
Yeah.
it
That's
was
so
so
awesome.
cool. It was so cool that since then we've had many schools be like, will you come to our school and do that? And because it's the music, that's what the music video is.
Yeah.
But now it's become a program, and we have a workbook, and we have a course coming out for the fall.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
so
crazy.
cool.
That's super cool. You know, like
Yeah.
giving back to the community,
love it.
and that I'm sure that feels so good too. You know, it always
Yeah.
feels good, like kind of giving back to people and.
It's always amazing to me, like what people have to say, especially the kids,
Yeah.
about their story. Is like you think that, oh, they're just going through life and they're on their TikTok, but like I just did a program last week in New Jersey,
Okay.
and the kids, like I asked them to kind of identify, what are you going through, and we do everything anonymous so they don't feel, what do you
Okay.
need and all this stuff. And the kids write things. I always blows like, I'm really stressed out about this, and I have anxiety about, like, really in-depth things that they're going through.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they get to do a creative project, and it's really cool. I love doing it.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds like an awesome movement.
Thank
it sounds
you.
like pretty much there's a lot of help being given. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Thank
And
you.
the origin story of that was pretty fascinating too.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like for things that like start to take off like that, it always starts off where like that's not what it was meant to be.
Totally.
You know.
All the time. Same with Lovelight. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, that was a cool name. And then it turned into this whole thing. So,
I guess one of the things that Lovelight focuses on right now is just like education, right? It's just like music.
yeah.
So
Yep.
what are these courses like? Can you break that down a little
Sure.
bit? What's like let's say somebody's that's interested in enlisting. How does that process?
So I have 3 courses right now
Okay.
with Lovelight. One is called Unseen to Queen, and it's for teen girls. And they get to work with me. I do it in person and online.
Okay.
And they basically, I teach them how to use music to feel better about themselves. That's like the really condensed version of what it is.
And what's the typical like age demographic for
It's usually about, now it's growing, so it's been broken up into preteen and teen.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we have 10 to 13, and then we have 14 to 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's
cool.
awesome. So now So like, if let's say there was a young girl that wanted to become an artist, this would be something that they would want to do.
Yes,
That's awesome.
It's something that, again, people approached me and were like, "Will you coach my daughter? You know, you're so confident and you're so," and I'm like, "Oh gosh, you know, if you only knew me when I was 14."
Yeah.
But then I'm like, wow, that makes me the perfect person to help these girls. And I realized, wow, I never had a female mentor ever. I wish I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like you're a super like well-spoken person,
Thank
and
you.
like you also have that love light aura.
Yes.
So
Yes,
that
we
like
can
for
definitely
any
confirm
Thanks,
that for
guys.
sure.
so like
Appreciate
any new like young girl that's like, I feel like you're a perfect coach. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I love. You know what? I love doing it because I identify with them
Yeah.
so much. Is because people look at me now and say, "Wow, you're so confident," and wow. But it's like I found that
Yeah.
in myself. I wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
very shy. I was very uncomfortable. I like didn't go to dances in school. I didn't go to like that was
You're like
not
a super introverted person.
Yeah, I not even introverted. I think I was just really uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, wow, if I can get to this level.
Yeah.
And it all came from the fact that I just loved music and I was good at it.
So what? You don't have to answer any of this. Let us know
Yes,
if you're
okay.
uncomfortable. I kind of want to understand the transition point, right?
Sure.
So because I find this super fascinating.
Yeah.
Around what age was this when you were like super uncomfortable, and then you started transitioning to figuring out like
I could
you
do
know,
this.
like-
I'm confident.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. It was not like a 1 day, 1 week, 1 year.
Right.
It's been, I would say, 14. This might surprise you. I would say 14 to 24. I
Okay.
was very not confident in myself,
But
not
like
sure
you were
of
kind of like
myself.
learning through music.
I was always trying.
Okay.
I was always trying to find self-love. And it was always something I was looking for externally, which
Yeah.
is why I wasn't finding it.
Okay.
And then I would say what really turned things and shifted things is that I lived in California and I became a part of this like nutrition community that was really about personal development and nutrition. You know, everybody in LA is like on the
Yep,
beach working
yep,
out like that. And I started really getting into personal development.
Okay.
And really listening to podcasts and speeches and books
Yep.
that were like, you can create your own reality. And I always thought, cool, how? Right.
Yes. Yes.
So I just kept digging. I was like, I know this is possible and I'm not doing it, but I think I can do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when it started to shift.
So I think it's important to identify, right, for entrepreneurs. There's a cap and a limit to when, like, how much you can learn and consume. There's a certain point that you just have to do.
Right.
There's like a lot of people just fall off without even trying, you know, and they just never take that leap. So it becomes a stagnant kind of recycled history where it's like, oh, I'm learning, but it's not happening. And it's like, I'm too scared to try. I'm too scared to actually push myself. I know this is going to work, but I still don't want to put in the effort, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and I think also with that, it's also a matter of, you know, like being a problem solver, right? Because, I mean, the first, let's say, way that you try or the first thing you do, you know, did you feel anything after one book or one podcast? Probably not.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But just over time, being consistent, you know, you're able to kind of make those changes. And then it's just like, whoa.
There's like this great analogy that I love.
Big analogy guy.
Me too. I'm
Love it.
totally into analogies. Yes.
He's laughing at me because I
love
always
it.
say
It's
something
always
every
Because it's
episode.
like then it makes you click like
Yes.
what?
Yep.
But I listened to this spiritual teacher named Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
And they talk about the Hoover Dam.
Okay.
In order for a boat to go like through the canal and all of these places, I'm not going to do it perfect, but you'll get the idea.
Yeah.
The boat goes into this like kind of stopped area, right? So
Okay.
like the boat will go in and then the gate comes up and they have to raise the water
Oh, okay.
and then they open the gate.
They have to redirect the water?
No, it's like with like there's different levels.
The buoyancy of the boat.
Okay.
So the boat goes in, right? Say the water's here, and then they have to go. The next space they have to go through is here. they got to raise the water or up here. They got to raise the water here and then let the boat go through.
Oh.
So in that analogy, it's like there is a waiting period in your creativity, in your business, in everything where you're not on the level that you're trying to go to. And and all these books and all these podcasts are raising your water just a little bit, just a little bit. You just have to trust that the gate eventually opens.
I think it's a perfect analogy. Emil, we got to clip that.
Yeah.
That's,
I love that.
that's
I
a cool
love that.
moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because it's so true, right? If you visualize that, or it's like even the analogy of a pregnancy
Yeah.
is like when a woman gets pregnant, she knows she's pregnant.
Yeah.
She knows she's going to have a baby.
Yeah.
She also knows that if she has the baby too soon, it's not good. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
You have to, there's a certain gestation period. You have to be pregnant for so long to have a healthy baby. Same thing with these manifestations, right? Of podcasts, of albums, of all of those things.
The timing
There's
has
this
to
waiting.
be right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same with a garden. I mean, it's all, there's so many things in life
Yeah.
that require that period.
Yes.
So then we don't do it ourselves, because
Yeah.
we're in a world of instant gratification.
That's definitely like a good point too. The instant gratification with all of like whether it's social media or even just the kinds of things you have access to with like that.
Uber Eats, come on,
That was
like all
something that I
that
was just gonna
stuff.
say,
Yeah,
too.
like, I don't know if I could say a brand name.
Uber Eats,
no, you can.
all
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, we're not super picky. I had the Monster can in the first week, and
Nice.
they were
Yeah.
like, don't
Yeah,
eat next
don't
time.
do
so
that.
the
Paper
White
cups with
yeah.
no writing on it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We got some VH, merch on the way.
There you go.
So,
Good.
but
Cool.
yeah, I mean, I really do love that. The analogies, because with
Yeah.
Two Senses just kind of summed up like an experience that you've been kind of going through for X amount of years.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
So your artist career has been doing really well, right? If someone here is listening that, let's say they've done a couple gigs over the last couple of months, or maybe they're trying to get their first gig, any advice, any insight? Because obviously you were there, at one point in time in your career. I mean, what would you say to those people?
I think that you have to have the willingness. Let me say this. Jim Rohn, who's a great like motivational speaker.
Yeah.
He has a great quote, and he says, "How long would you work for the thing that you want the most?" And the answer is as long as it takes. Not one day, not 1 week,
Yep.
not as long as that guy. It doesn't matter.
There's no
Yeah.
shortcut.
There is no answer to that question. You just do it until it happens. And that's the answer. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't get frustrated,
Yeah.
try once. There's a lot of things that happen where you can let those limiting beliefs dictate where you're going, or you can say, well, I have to try again. Well, that didn't work, but that doesn't mean this won't work. All of those things are really important. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there, willing to try again,
You have a super business mindset. Like
Yes.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
to just
thanks.
like hear that, because I have a lot of musician friends, right? Like, that's the background that
Yeah, that's right.
I was telling you, is like when I was in college. I mean, I was in a band pretty much my whole life since like high school,
That's cool.
middle school, and I play the piano, but like nowhere near you.
Oh, cool.
But like the pianist in our band was a classical pianist, so like I
Nice.
know he's like crazy
Yeah.
skilled, but it's not a thing. Like to have that mindset
I know.
in music within musicians that are songwriters are super creative individuals.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a different type of creativity.
Right.
Like not every one of them. Like I've
like,
worked
"Toot
with
toot."
people that have zero work ethic.
Yeah.
But they're super
Super
talented.
talented.
It just makes no sense.
Right.
And it's like sometimes I look at these people, I'm like, man, if you
If
had a manager,
only.
if you had this guy doing this for you, if you had some work ethic. I mean, we had somebody like that in our like one of our bands,
Yep.
and it was so difficult to work with people like that because it's impossible.
Frustrating.
I mean, as they say, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
It's true. It's true. I always say where I lack in talent, I make up for in discipline. Yeah.
Okay.
So why would you say you're so? Well, why do you think you're so disciplined? Like, why would you say that? Because I feel like you are, right?
Yeah.
So how would you say you're so disciplined?
I think the number one thing that's really important to me is like interestingly enough, being a shy, awkward, like whatever kid, I was kind of a wallflower. I was kind of in the background, which is why I have absolutely no problem working until 3 o'clock in the morning when nobody's watching.
Okay.
I don't care because I'm not looking for that. Hey,
like, oh, good
yeah,
job.
like you're working till 3. That's so cool. And I know that whatever it takes is what it takes.
Yeah.
So if I need to stay up till 3 o'clock, like web design is not my thing, but we're working on the website right now.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly in meetings about how do we do this? What are the colors? What are the this? Because that's what it takes.
It was, for me, in my early startup days, almost like a decade ago, that was a cool thing to say when, like, you're seeing this girl and you're like, yeah, babe, I'm working so hard. I'm pulling all-nighters. But, like, you know me now. This is my life now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's like it becomes a part of the system and, like, who you are.
Yeah.
It's just about getting things done.
Right.
That's what it's about. If it takes 20 minutes,
Cool.
awesome. Move on to the next
That's
thing.
right.
If it takes 20 hours, then hey.
What's priorities, right? Is it that important to you? Like, are you going to hustle hard enough? Like, is this like, are you going to let the next guy take over? It's just how hard are you willing to work to bring your dreams to life? That's really all that is.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go.
No, you go.
I lost my train of thought.
Oh, no.
I was going to ask you, because I think you bring up a good point with, like, priorities. Right. So over the course of like your career and even where you are now, like how do you, let's say, set your priorities, or do you have like a set schedule or routine that you go through every day or every week?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Yes and no. It's like music and business. They're not like exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
One is very structured.
Yep.
One is like, let's write till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, I need to get up and write emails.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a balance,
Yes.
which I'm looking for every day. I absolutely 100% every single day wake up, I meditate, I write in my journal. I have like an hour in the morning. I don't check my phone. I don't check my social media. I don't check my email. I wake up. I have like a moment of gratitude, like, hey, sweet, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and then I do my meditation. I'll do like a writing exercise every single day.
Okay.
I read a book every day.
Nice.
And then I'll get into emails and responding.
And then start your day.
And then I go.
How has meditation helped you? Because I'm very
What?
interested in that. Yeah,
Everybody needs to meditate every day, especially
I have
in
a follow-up
business.
question to that.
Yes.
Kind of like what you said. Let's go through meditation.
Yeah,
first.
Okay, so I think that especially in this day and age that we live in, especially with social media, there is so much comparative to things that you don't even, you're making assumptions in your brain. Their life is so cool. And it's like, that's not their car. But there's so much going on outside. And I'm a very, very, very big advocate that we all have this essence of us that is from, God or source energy or universe or whatever people want to identify it as. But we all come from whatever it is that makes the sun come up every day, that makes the trees grow and the bees and whatever. It's like, we're not doing all that much to make the earth like keep going.
Yeah.
We're part of that cosmic energy. And so I think that every day going inside and saying, whatever makes me feel bad, whatever making me feel inadequate, or I'm not far enough, or I didn't do enough, it's not from here.
Yeah.
It's from here.
That's fascinating.
How long do you normally do it for?
Like 15 minutes.
Okay.
Unless I'm having a really bad day or like wake up from like a bad dream and I'm like, 45 minutes.
Oh shit! She doesn't even.
I'm
do
like,
30.
can't get out.
She goes
Yeah,
straight
like-
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned, which was right after meditation, you said journaling, right? So my wife does journaling. What is that? What is the point of that? Like, I'm not hating on it.
No. That makes me laugh because my boyfriend's like,
Okay.
why do you do that?
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. It's part of my You Matter movement too, is to say, what's going on in me? I swear to you, I write in my journal so many times where I'm like, I feel like this, and I didn't know that I felt like this until I felt like writing down and saying, what's the root cause that I'm frustrated right now, or I'm overwhelmed, or like we were talking about, oh, we hate to be late, right?
Yeah.
I hate to be late, and it's like sometimes there's traffic and literally nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so when
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
upset about that, it's totally messing with your energy, and there's nothing you could have done.
So the one thing that I don't like too much about journaling is that you're documenting, let's say, a bad day, right? Because like some people, because the way like my wife does it is like it's dated,
Yep. Same.
right?
Same.
Is that how? Okay. So it's like she can look back like 3 years ago, like what she
Wow.
wrote on that day. Like she's been journaling for a while.
Years. Yeah.
And like when we started dating, she was doing this. I was like insane. And then after we got married, I'm like, holy shit, this is a real
This
thing.
is really a thing you do. This is like not. Yeah.
Like we're going on vacation and she'll pack it.
Yeah.
Like she's serious
I
about
do.
it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, let's say you're kind of like 3 years like before, like you're looking back at a really bad time. Like because I'm a strong believer in learning from your mistakes and moving on.
Sure.
Right.
And kind of like carving out your future into
Absolutely.
like positive, right?
Yes.
But I feel like sometimes if I went back and I looked at some of the negative things
It
that
would
I've had
make you
some
feel
really
bad.
yeah, it would make me feel bad. It would make me feel like, man, I can't do anything to change that. So it's almost like I want to be able to address that. Sometimes you can't address it, right? You just have to move on. So I don't understand that.
I'm going to tell you
Okay.
a perfect example right now is that a few weeks ago, I was like I was just frustrated about
yeah.
things. I was like, things aren't, I'm like such a workaholic, like do more.
Yeah.
We get to this level and it's like, but we need to get to this level.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of going through some stuff, and I ended up finally having a day where I was like, let me look back.
Okay.
When's the last, because generally I feel lovely and light and all of, that's my attitude for real. That's really how I feel. It's not like a thing that people are like, have you met her? But that's really how I feel on a regular day. But we're all human.
Yes.
And
of
we
course.
fall
But
back into
There are
that.
bad days.
There
and
are bad
horrible
days,
days.
which is okay.
Yes.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, when is the last time I wrote in my journal and I was like, I feel so good today?
Okay.
And I looked back and it was like 7 days.
Okay.
And I was like, that's too long. 7 days of this attitude of me not feeling good, of me feeling like a victim mentality, which I kind of talk about a lot. Like, that's too many days because I do a lot of lately I'm really into neuroscience and yeah,
Okay.
I know that's a whole different conversation, but the way it like affects you and thinking about your future and having a positive mentality about it. And there's a lot of research that shows every time you feel something or think something, it's a connection in your brain.
Yeah.
And the more you think that and the more you feel bad and the longer that goes, the deeper that connection is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 7 days of that connection's getting really strong.
Yeah.
And you can break it, but you have to observe it in the journal or wherever and say, I'm not going to feel like that. I'm going to be done with that. And that's why I do it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of like look back at a positive direction of what I was trying to look for, but I get it.
I you have to journal in a certain way.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my I don't think that it's productive to be like, I hate everything and life is too hard. And I think there needs, in everything you do, not just journaling, there has to be an intention.
Okay.
And for me,
I can agree with
the
that, for sure.
intention of journaling is to always be accountable to myself, to go to the next level,
Love
to
that.
be my best self. That's the intention of my journal, not
Okay.
to say, I hate everybody. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's not the purpose.
Yeah, I don't. So, like, I don't do the daily journals, but when there's periods of time where I'm like very stressed out or I have a lot going on,
You journal?
I don't journal, but I'll
sensitive side
go
of it.
on. No, well, not even that. Like, I like it in the aspect of getting all the stuff in
Out.
here out. So just write everything out. It's like, you know what? Like, I was stressing about X, Y, and Z, but like now that I'm reading over, it's like I can just solve it by doing this, that, and the third. You know, I think sometimes when people are super stressed out and they have a lot going on,
It helps to get your thoughts out.
It
Absolutely.
just like sits in there. It's like, and then you start worrying about things you don't need to worry about.
I like
So,
that. I mean, 100% I see that it could be used as a therapeutic outlet.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, you know, like a lot of people, they maybe don't have a lot of friends, maybe don't talk to a lot of people, don't have money for therapy, don't have, like, you know, just different things. It's just an outlet, right? But it's cool. I find it super fascinating. You said that there needs to be an intention behind you journaling, because I feel like there's levels to it, and there's ways where you can maximize that, and that's kind of cool. I think that could be like a little pointer.
Not to get off topic, but the neuroscience thing,
I'm such a nerd.
You know what? There was a
podcast
period
for
of
nerds.
time where I like really went into that for like just like mindset stuff, and I'm very interested because no matter what you do, right? Whether you're starting off, whether you're super deep in whatever you're doing, like there's gonna be a point in time where you're very stressed out because you're gonna be dealing with things you haven't dealt with. Right, so I went down pretty deep rabbit hole. Andrew Huberman, he's a psychologist and he's a neuroscientist from Stanford.
Ooh.
Okay, and he has his own lab there. He runs like whatever he does, and I've watched a lot of podcasts on him dealing with stress, breathing exercises, how to think positive, like how to think positive thoughts. And it really helps if you take the time. Yeah. So I just wanted to, one, definitely give you that recommendation because he's a super
I will
smart
look
guy.
into that, definitely.
And not only that, but it's definitely helped me dealing with stress and things like that. It's super interesting how your brain works.
This is a podcast?
It's an individual, but he's been on multiple podcasts kind of sharing.
Yeah,
like he goes into
he's a psychologist, you said?
Neuroscientist. Neuroscientist, yeah. Cool. So he talks about sleep, talks about when you're stressed out. Like, do these things. Like, there's this breathing exercise that, like, when I'm stressed out, like, I do this. And it, like, literally, like, calms me down. Because we all get stressed. Just, like, 5 minutes, done.
So you, like, took, like, tips and pointers and, like, you actually applied it and
100%. 100%.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and there's simple things where it's like, it's not like I got to do all these. I have to get this, I have to buy this, I have to do this, I have to learn how to do it. It's like a breathing exercise.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very simple.
Right.
Definitely recommend
When you said neuroscience, I thought you were going to go with like Elon Musk's Neuralink. And
I mean, that's a different angle, but that's
rabbit
interesting.
hole, but that's so far beyond what you were talking about.
I'm really into Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you know who Joe Dispenza is. No. So we'll trade our resources. But Dr. Joe Dispenza he wrote a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Oh,
and I promise you, it changed my life because I've done a lot of spiritual study forever. But there is a side to the spiritual part that is like, be happy, feel happy, think positive. And I'm like, I don't feel like that all the time.
Yeah.
So I either feel like, oh, I'm messing it up because I'm not thinking positive.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right. Or I'm faking it, and that can't be right either. And Joe Dispenza goes into, probably most neuroscience people go into why, like, your brain is actually like the actual science of when you feel bad, when you feel good, when you work hard, when you are stressed. It's like, when you are doing a breathing exercise, what is actually happening to the blood in your body and your brain, and how when you're stressed, the blood goes away from your brain into your muscles so that you can fight if you need to. It's very interesting.
Well, no, when you start learning about the science and actually why it's affecting your body the way it's affecting it, everything changes. And that's why it's like so important to educate yourself on these things, right? It's like if you just read like a hot headline, it's not enough. Like, you really got to be able to dive into it. If you want to actively change something about yourself, you have to educate yourself.
Yes.
You have to dive deep.
Yes.
And you have to do your own. You have to put in the hours, man.
I mean, we're in a place and time now where it's not like you don't have resources. You just have to be resourcefulness.
Yes,
I love
that.
We have Google now.
Right.
And I mean,
we've had Google for a really long time.
Exactly. So like,
but like, and
you can find it.
And like, even to like circle it back is like with with the podcast, with the music, with the everything, there's no reason. It's how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Because there's like, I heard somebody say, this day and age, ignorance is a choice.
Yeah.
Like how to file an LLC. Look it up on the internet. Like, how do I get a company? How do I start a podcast? What kind of stuff do I need? Like, I mean, you can find everything.
Yeah.
You really can.
Yeah.
So
you can, I mean, information is like pretty much free. It's just you actually spending the time and like doing your research. I think I want to kind of circle back into the music industry. First of all, that was super fascinating, kind of
Yeah.
diving into that. I had no idea we were going to go that direction.
I
It's
love it.
always
That's
funny
pretty
because
cool.
I'm like got my hands in all these different pots where I'm like,
No,
yeah,
this is
let's talk
great.
about neuroscience.
I mean, I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. And-
meditation.
Yeah, I mean, for the
neuroscience.
people watching, you know, like we want to be able to give you like tidbits how not only from a business side,
Right.
but like
Life.
the back end of business as well. Like everyone's human, everyone goes through these things, and I feel like especially when you're doing something new for the first time, all of the emotions, stress, typically are at an all-time high. So
all-time high. And a lot of business people meditate. A lot of very successful business people, meditation is like a staple that they'll tell you, oh, I meditate all the time.
Yeah. 100%. But that's, you know, it's something that I've thought about a lot, but it's just like one of those things. It's like, you know, people that are in their 40s and their 50s, they have a lot more time around that time. And it's just like time, you have to make time for things like this. You know? It's just
I was just going to say, it's not like you don't have time, it's just making time for it, you know?
Yeah.
But,
Watch, like, I always say to people, like, how much, even myself, how much are you on social media and watching TV?
you can even look that on your phone now.
You have time.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah, but like, what if like your life is social media? What if your business and everything that you do is
I think
social
that's
media?
great. I think that you still have to treat it like a business.
That's
Social
good point.
media is the best marketing thing invented.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on there feeling bad about yourself and your
Yeah.
life, get off.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not, like I have a blog on our website, which we just launched. And, you know, as an artist, you know, people want to see what's going on and all of that stuff. But it's like, post the blog, whatever. I have like a list. Do this, post here, interact here.
And then
blah,
get
blah,
off.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I have an email to send, or I have a gig, or I have a podcast, or whatever. It's like, moving on.
I think like something that's pretty fascinating. I don't know when's the last time you did this, but anyone that feels like, oh man, I have a bad social media or like addiction to my phone, it's just like if you're on Apple, use the screen time app.
Yep, I
And
have
it'll
that.
tell you.
I have that. I use that.
It tells you how long you, no, I haven't done that.
Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
So there's an app that's built in your iPhone called Screen Time. It'll tell you
Oh my
how long
God.
you're on your phone, not just social media. It'll break it down even further.
Yeah.
It'll tell you what apps you're using the most. I'm talking about
Wow.
hours. It's gonna blow your mind, and that'll really.
Ooh,
it has like
that's
a
interesting.
day breakdown, week breakdown, month breakdown.
Yeah.
Then you can set timers. Like, let's say you only been on Twitter for 2 hours a day, and then when you hit the 2
It
hours,
kicks you off.
it kicks you off and like goes like dark. And then if
Ding,
you
ding,
click
ding.
First
it,
off, Twitter 2 hours a day.
what?
Twitter
He
2
has a
hours
lot
a
of
day
thoughts.
is insane, man.
No, it's an example.
Okay.
It's an example.
I thought you were like splitting out your own facts, your
No,
own
no,
stats.
And there's 37 hours a day.
It's you know, it's like an hour 50.
Right.
But so when you click it, then it pops up and it's like
Yeah.
you have no more time left. Now obviously you have the option to like, you know, ignore this and then continue to go on. But it's definitely a cool feature that I've used.
Ooh, I'm gonna use that for
You should
sure.
check it out.
I will.
When you're driving. So when you get home,
Yeah.
it's gonna blow your mind. If
Yeah.
you've never
100%.
used that,
Oh, wow.
it's so crazy to see. You'll be like, why the hell have I been on this app for 2 hours this week? Or
So
something,
Right.
you know,
I
whatever.
have a question for you.
Sure.
Artist, have you heard about or do you know anything about the craze of NFTs?
I have an NFT.
You do?
I do.
What do you mean, your own?
Yeah, my company put out an NFT.
No.
in March.
Really?
Can you tell us
When?
more?
I told you. I'm here and
Oh,
there.
you
and
can't
everywhere.
talk about it?
No, I can talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it launched?
Yep. It's on
Oh, what
OpenSea.
the hell?
So like I'm not sure, like, so
Okay.
we're a tech company, right? So
Yeah.
we're software and we're developing like so many NFT projects and we're so deep like in that space.
Oh, I love that you brought that up. You know, NFT NYC is this week.
Yep.
Yes.
Are you going?
Or the
We-
20th next
Next
week.
Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
We're most likely going to be around like the events that are
Cool.
happening,
Okay.
like the parties and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if we're going to be sitting
Like,
through
at
a
the
lot
actual,
of the,
like,
the
conference.
conferences.
No, I'm not going
Yeah.
to the conference.
Okay.
But I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to go to some of the events. That's funny that you brought that up. I love that you brought that up. I
had it in my mind for like the first.
Wait, so you're going?
yeah.
So what are you planning on attending?
I've actually just been talking to like a girl that I met through, I was on a panel and she
Okay.
was talking about crypto for artists.
Okay.
And I was like, we need to connect. I have an NFT project that we just released, but I'm still learning that space. And so she was like, oh yeah. So there's a few different events that I saw that I want to go to for like music because I'm trying to be strategic with
music-based NFTs. Yep.
Yeah, there's
Yep.
tons of events, but I want to go to ones for artists. So the NFT project that we put out in March, I worked with hip hop like legend. His name is Ray Rothschild. He actually is Sugar Ray of Double X Posse. So that's like a very big 90s hip hop group. And he is the co-writer on Eroticy.
Okay.
And so we ended up chatting about NFTs, and he was like, listen, NFTs is the wave.
Yeah, let's do
Artists. He was like, this, you know, he had a #1 hit single called Not Gonna Be Able to Do It. That was on Fresh Prince. And, you know, they just played it on Wu-Tang, the saga.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
on an episode a few months ago, October, I think. And so we made a whole collection around that song.
What's it called? What's the collection
The
called?
collection is the Not Gonna Be Able to Do It collection.
The Not Gonna Be Able to Do It collection.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is there a link on your site?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we got
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
description
definitely,
and stuff. That's so
definitely.
We either or
Yeah.
you should text us or like we got exchange.
We
Yeah.
will.
Like text us a link because we're super involved in the blockchain.
Okay,
world. It's not just like
I need
NFTs
you
yet.
guys to coach me on that because
Okay.
I'm
We
like,
definitely can.
because what you were saying and you were saying as well is like that is the next wave for artists,
Mm-hmm.
big time. And
Yeah.
I don't really know much about it.
Yeah.
I knew that with Ray, his is such a collectible because he is, you know, a hip hop legend.
Yeah.
So with his song, it was like a no-brainer. We were like, we'll figure it out. We
Yeah.
got to make one and put it up. But I'm excited about learning about the space. I think there is a lot
It's
happening
really,
for an artist.
really cool.
I mean, that's pretty. That's so crazy.
Did you think I was like, I have one?
Because Jack has like a tendency of like asking pretty much everybody. He's like, "Hey man, what are you doing in the?"
Well, you know what? I knew
It's the
it was in
wave,
my mind,
man.
but like I knew I wanted
like a
to
shot in
when
the dark.
No, when she said like I'm an like independent artist, like
Yeah.
I'm doing this, now I'm like, okay.
There's no way
has
she
to
doesn't
even
know
know. She
what
has
it
to know
is.
what it is. If she
Yeah.
has, I'm not sure, but I'm like, I'm 100%.
I mean,
asking
listen,
her.
we don't know when this is going to air. This is probably going to air a couple weeks from now.
Yeah.
But when this does air, hopefully the market has recovered. So this is not a
Yeah.
bad
I
taste. It's
know.
really bad right now.
Yeah, I know.
But it's definitely a good time to like think.
But it's
about
not
it,
going to
even
stay
create one.
bad. It's not
Yes.
going to stay
Well, the thing
bad.
is, for us is like we're on the other side too. We have a lot of blockchain and NFT clients, like Final Free Productions does.
Okay.
So for us, we're on the other side, and it's just like it sucks because man, like it is a bad time right now.
I
And it's
know.
not just the NFTs, it's not just crypto.
I
It
mean, the
is
whole financial
every
market is just,
stock, every single company.
good.
It's horrible right now. So
But now's the time. Like if you're like as an artist, make
Yeah.
one now.
Yeah.
It's not going to stay down.
Nope.
It's that long. But again, back to everything we're talking about, right? Is like we didn't have the success out the gate with the NFT that we thought we would because it was on the decline, and we're still learning.
if you
and-
launched it in March, it
yeah.
wasn't a good time.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. But I'm like, he's
Well,
a
the
number
March
one
of
artist.
this year or last year?
This year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yep.
thing is, like, there are levels to this, and we'll talk about it
Yeah.
more.
100%.
And there's like a lot of different things that you have to do because we study trends, right? This is
Yep.
something that we do. It's our job, and that has. It's not what it was back in like May of 2021.
Yeah,
It is
no way.
completely different landscape. I'd say every 2 months, the landscape's changing, so you have to adapt.
If not less.
Yeah.
Not less. But
Yeah.
I think for artists especially, like, you know, and Saj and I were talking about this the other day where we had like a craze, you know, in the last like what, 6-12 months or so.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I think now obviously we're in the downturn, financial market is, you know,
Yeah,
not
but
doing well. But I think now is going to be a really good place for artists and people that are trying to.
I was just gonna say that I think despite the market sentiment right now, I think that the utility for artists and just other applications within like just creative art is going to be massive.
Well, you know what? The difference is now compared to like where we were now, and let's say where we were like 2-3 years ago, is it blew up. Now it's on a downturn, but people know the tech exists now. So
Right.
now we're going to be in a place that
Right.
people are like, okay, this was a craze, but like the tech's still really good.
Right.
So now how can we leverage this?
Yes.
You know, and that's what I'm super excited for. you know?
I think from an artist standpoint, it needs as like opposite and uncomfortable as it feels. The 100,000 people watching your video are not your customers. They're not your clients. 1,000 people who buy $100 NFT album. Now you're talking money.
Yeah, yeah.
Online, that's, those, like, how are you monetizing?
Well,
Yeah.
this is a very interesting way to put it, and maybe you've probably thought about this before, but if you haven't,
yeah.
you want to attract people. You don't really want to attract, if you're a small artist, you're not looking to convert your existing audience into buyers, because that's a much harder hill to climb. What you'd want is you'd want to be able to leverage the brand that you've already created, the legitimacy that you're standing on, and be able to attract potential investors that see value in it, and be able to, you know, get on that wave and then buy. That's a lot easier to do, in my opinion, from what we've seen. Now, if you're an artist that has, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10 million like followers or subscribers all over like socials and everything, there's gonna, even if you do a 1,000 collection release, you will sell that out, because there'll be a portion of the demo
be a percentage
that's going to end up buying it. And I'm talking about a very small portion that's going to be more than enough to sell it out over and over again.
And it's still so new. You know?
That's exactly why, because you have to look at the adoption numbers. You have to look at how many people actually have wallet addresses. You have to look at how many people have funds in the wallet addresses that can actually buy crypto. So let's say your audience, like you have like 10, 20, 50,000, right? And let's say even 1 million, right? And none of them don't even know, like that education aspect is not something that you can afford to do, right? Or take the risk to, because then you'd have another problem to deal with, you know?
Yeah, it's you have to play the long game, but that's everything we're talking about.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that was a little detour there, but
I'm glad you brought that up,
Jack.
because you know what? It's like it's under the umbrella of Lovelight Sound Music. We released the collection, but it's so, like, on this brand, even though it's artistry, and it's like when I'm on podcasts a lot, we're talking about eroticy, we're talking about You Matter, we're talking, so it's like, I'm so glad you gave me an opportunity. I appreciate that to share that, because that's something I'm really excited about, and we have it, but not a lot of people know it's there.
No, I think you're on brand with everything else that you're doing, so it made sense. And you know, for the most part, I guess circling back, I've tried to do this like 20 minutes ago, but I wasn't able to going back to the music. But I think it's all good.
It's all relevant.
It's all good. Yeah. What's the I guess, like, what's next for you, like in the music scene? So right now you're basically just doing whenever you're feeling creative juices, you're recording. And by the way, do you like produce? So you do your own, like, you're in the studio, you're producing, recording.
You do everything.
One-stop shop.
That's awesome.
Yeah, eroticy. I did. I co-produced with Ray.
Okay.
So Ray and I pretty much 50-50 did that whole record from start to finish together.
That's awesome.
Which was really fun, because I haven't done a lot of collaborating, and he's a #1 Billboard artist. So he really, really pulled like the best writing out of me and the best production out of me. I have a very technical, classical mentality, so I can write all the parts. I can write the bass, I can write the guitar, I can write the horns and the strings and the blah, blah, blah. But having that feel, having that relevance, having that, like, a lot of stuff is technical now. And so when I'm, you know, it's like, let's add an 808, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's, you know, so it's, you like,
never thought of it, and
adding stuff that's not a real like a musical instrument is new to me. I'm starting to incorporate that. Yeah, but I do a lot of the production.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so I guess, like, my segue to that question was going to be, you're involved in so many different things, and a lot of super fascinating things, and you know, hopefully people are listening and checking you out and everything that you do. But for the, you know, I guess directionally, right? What's your main focus? What's next? Is it the business? Is it you know, Lovelight Sound? Is it you know, just like the movement? Is it music, recording an album right now? What's happening with you?
I love that. I am trying to find the balance, because I'm loving all of it, but it's a lot. So definitely working on more music. I have a whole album that's like in the pregnancy stage. But I'm really excited about that. But eroticy is the best thing that has, like, right, I've worked music for 8 or 9 years, and then overnight,
Yeah.
it's on the radio.
It took a
It's like,
decade for
it
me
just
to-
took me, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Was that like a single release?
yes.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's going to be in the album?
Yes, Eroticy's already out. It came out
Oh.
in September.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But what, the
It'll
album?
be on the album.
Oh, it'll be
as
on the
well.
album, right?
Yeah.
So it's just single.
Yeah, it's just a single
Got
right
it.
now.
Got it.
And then so I have a bunch of other music but the whole thing about that, to bring up Eroticy, is to say people responded so well to that record. I used to be in a rush. Like, I don't know where this put as much content as you can and put as much, but it's like I'm totally into quality over quantity now. Like, love Eroticy. Keep loving it.
Yeah.
I'm working on the next one being better than that.
Yeah.
And so I want it to be great.
You're taking your time with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we do have the next one. It's in the works. The next one is called Royalty.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next single will be called Royalty. It's the same vibe. It's a little bit like leveled up. Like
Any sneak peeks on when it's going to drop? Can you leak that
hopefully
info?
summer. I'm really hoping for summer.
Okay.
That is the goal, and then the goal is to do the full album before the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
the goal. So I'm loving just writing and letting it flow and letting Eroticy kind of like have the spotlight still.
Yeah.
A lot of records take off, it's like a year and a half, especially as an independent artist.
Yeah.
Independent artists, like if you put a record out and you really love it, push it for a year, push it for 2 years. Like, don't stop because it doesn't take off in 3 months.
Or even 3 days.
3
at
days,
this point.
3
Yeah,
months, whatever.
I mean, like, there's so many. So I'm a big Kid Cudi fan. Like, Kid Cudi had a record that, like, he put out, and then it just blew up because someone remixed it. And
Yep.
there's so many different things. So
All
many
the
examples.
time.
Yeah. So Mike Posner, that song, like, took a
If
pill.
I could
yeah.
ratchet.
Yeah. So
Mike Posner.
and it blew up even more than his original release, like years after. Like,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Timing.
I think, yeah.
Timing.
If you believe in it, you just got to drive it home.
Yeah.
Just that's really what it is.
For sure.
So that's, I guess, should we kind of like wrap this up? Do you want, where should people find you?
You should find me on the internet.
Web3?
Yeah, Web3. Right. Yes. OpenSea. But no, they can look up Alaura Lovelight. All of my social media platforms are at Alaura Lovelight.
Okay.
So Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Instagram the most.
Okay.
Okay.
That's kind of, I like that. I like the reels. I like to do that.
Awesome.
So mostly Instagram and Facebook too, which, I did the You Matter thing. And I'm like, who has a Facebook? And like, none of them. I was like, okay.
No, that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, who has a TikTok? Me. But yeah, I love to connect with people. I love
Awesome.
to see. I'm at a point where I'm like, if you are ready and willing to take the next step, I want to work with you. Because we didn't even get into this, but the Willing Creative is another course that I have, which I think is actually the best course for your audience.
Cool.
Because the Willing Creative is a group that meets twice a month. It's just like a collective, and it's all about what's blocking you, what's holding you back,
personal development
what are
stuff?
you doing? Yes,
Awesome.
totally, and it's for anybody creative. We also didn't chat about this, but I'm a published writer as well, and so I write for some websites and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's for people who write, it's for people who produce, it's for anybody who's like, I am willing to take the next step. I want
I'm
to
ready.
be accountable to myself, to the group, to whatever.
Yep.
And that's really important to me, that people have that opportunity.
And what was the name of the course?
The Willing Creative.
The Willing Creative.
Yeah, because
Okay.
my big thing is that it's not enough to be creative, like you were saying before. Like, there's so many people who are talented. Lots of people who come to work with me to sing or whatever. I'm like, you already have it, but you don't have the confidence. You don't, and that's what we build.
Okay.
So that course is very, I think great for anybody who's creative, who's listening, but needs to have that business mindset.
So you nurture the creativity and the
Yes.
talent.
That's awesome.
Yes. Well, let's talk about strategy. Let's talk about this. Like, even I have a course called Make Music, Make Money, specifically for musicians, to say, how are you making money? If you're playing a $500 gig, do you have a $700, credit card? You're not being strategic. Like, get
Okay.
rid of that equipment and let's do
Yeah.
it like this. So you make $400. So that's that too.
I think like that's crazy. It's crazy that like you figure that out and it's working for you.
I mean, that's super valuable too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. So
Yeah.
Lovelight Sound Music is the website, lovelightsoundmusic.com. All the courses are there. Teen Girls, The Willing Creative, Make Music, Make Money is automated. It's 7 modules. People can go on and buy it and learn how to book a gig, all the strategies, things that I didn't do that I wish I had done to like make sure you're taking that small people at the bar, turning them into people who follow you, who buy your stuff, who whatever.
That's a good way.
Yeah, and then the blog is also at lovelightsoundmusic.com. We
Okay.
publish just like inspiring stories about You Matter. And then I do the schools. That's all at lovelightsoundmusic.com.
Yeah, we checked out the site and it's pretty cool. So Alaura has like a team. She's got like people like running shit.
I have some badass women running shit.
I love that. I mean, Savannah sounds like a pretty, shout out Savannah.
Yeah, shout out to Savannah. Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Is there anything else that you'd want to drop in any sort of last, what is it, like
closing remarks maybe?
Or analogies?
Any analogies
just
left?
random. Yeah, just drop
I wish I had one off the top of my head because I have a million of them. But I think that I hope that your audience got something out of our conversation.
100%.
And I hope that they will be willing to reflect on themselves and say, this is what I want. This is what I'm actually doing right now. Mm-hmm. And maybe these are the things that I need to get to. Because my thing is, no matter if it's music or writing or podcast or whatever, there's no reason you can't live your best life.
Got it.
There's no reason you can't do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I read a book that said by Jack Canfield, The Success Principles, and he says, find 5 things you like to do and then write down 5 ways you can make money. And people think, well, I'm not a dancer and I'm not a writer, and people are selling cat outfits on eBay and making tons of money. There's no reason you can't do it. Yeah. So find out what you like, if it's talking to people, if it's being outside, and then figure out, how do I be accountable to myself? How do I really go after that and have it and be confident? And if they don't know how, they can do the Willing Creative and we'll help them. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that happens, and I think people learn a lot from this conversation. And
we really appreciate you coming down
and stream Odyssey. Yeah, play the song
everywhere, right? Spotify,
everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Okay. There's a fabulous video that goes with it. I don't know if you saw it.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah. Lots of sparkly shoes.
Yeah, I took a peek at the glasses. Dresses.
The piano. There's a piano in it.
Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna watch it.
Well, for all those watching and listening, we're gonna put all of Miss Alaura's links in the description. So please check it out. And
100%.
We appreciate you very much. Appreciate you coming down. We had a pleasure speaking
with you guys. Yeah, it was
great
to be here.
No,
I'm excited for you guys.
This was a blast. Thank you so much for coming by. And
I guess as always, to the VH community, we appreciate you guys. Hope you guys got some value out of our conversation today. And as always, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere there's podcasts, you'll find Venture Hustles. And no matter where you are in the world, hope you are enjoying your day or night. So enjoy.
Cool.
Venture Hustles, this is Venture Hustles. Turn nothing to something, start a business, get it jumping. Ay, told myself that I would make it and I'm never quitting. Staying motivated and I started with a vision. Yeah.